Academy, a Naval Academy graduate, and currently a case officer of the midshipman, a case officer, a midshipman honor program. When not working on her master's in data analytics and cybersecurity governance, she crochets, chases rabbit holes, and and occasionally makes recreational PowerPoints. Her latest her latest rabbit hole, the history of Juneteenth. And lucky for us, she brought slides. So you'll find out, to me, I didn't know what a rabbit hole, chasing rabbit holes was, but I thank God that we found out that it was something extra outside of all of those other heavy duty things that she does in the Navy. But I want to take this time right now to turn the program over to my granddaughter, Kiyomi, and she can come in her own way. Please comment, share, whatever you can do. I think you're going to be very interested in what she has to offer us tonight. Thank you so much. And Kiyomi, if you're ready, we're ready for you.
All right. Can everyone hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, as long as I'm coming in okay.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go ahead and start having my screen share. Uh, Give me one moment. You might have to go into the settings, Grandma, to allow me to share my screen.
Okay, well, Jeffrey was take care of all the technical parts.
It shouldn't take very long, so if you want to have Jeffrey just pop in, it just
Yes, he's here. He's fixing it for me.
no problem. Just let me know when I should be good to go and I can share my screen.
You let her know her.
I'm waiting for participant screen sharing to be opened, and then I'll be good to go. Excuse the technical difficulties. So Graham, you can just give me a thumbs up when it's good to go. I think you're still muted as well. You're still muted, Graham.
It's all good.
Okay, there we go.
It's all good. All right.
All
Good.
right, now here we go. It's working.
Good. Thank
All
God.
right. So we'll go ahead and get going. So I'll just keep this open just to start. So this is my Slido. And if you have a cell phone or if you want to just a separate browser, if you have any questions as I go along, feel free to scan that QR code with your phone or just use this code 3812432, and then as I'm going, you can submit your questions. You can also use the Zoom chat, whichever is easiest for you. I just want to provide multiple options as make it as easy as possible. So if that is all good to go, I'll give it a couple more seconds and then I will switch to my PowerPoint. All right. So, um, I made this for context. I hosted a Juneteenth barbecue at my house, on Juneteenth, and I just thought that, of course, me and my family were Black, but not all of the guests were. And I imagine that, I didn't know what Juneteenth was because this is a comparatively new federal holiday. Um, and I wanted to make sure that in a very social setting, in a very informal setting, people could learn a little bit about, the history of Juneteenth, knowing why we celebrate the reason for this season. And so this is the presentation that I made for that. So a quick disclaimer again, I cover some historical stuff, but it's supposed to be very casual. This is going to be very short. This is not going to be like a History Channel documentary. There's not going to be obviously we're going to have some reference to slavery because this is about the emancipation from slavery, but I'm not going to have any graphic imagery or anything of that nature. The point of this is to talk about the history, talk about the people that we're celebrating, how to celebrate, and of course, food because I'm doing this at a barbecue. So without further ado, here is the itinerary that we're going to go through. So first thing, what is Juneteenth? Then we're going to talk about how did Juneteenth come to be? How is it traditionally celebrated? How do we celebrate it now versus how do we celebrate it back then? And who are we celebrating? So our emancipated ancestors. So we'll start with what is Juneteenth? Juneteenth is a portmanteau, which means the combination of two words of the word June and 19th, because that's the date of Juneteenth, June 19th. But specifically, this started in June 19th of 1865. And I want you to remember that number because it's going to come back. So this was the day of that freedom finally came to the last of the enslaved people in the United States. But there's a lot of other reasons why 1865 was a really big year. Because in January of that year, we have the 13th Amendment passed in Congress, which the 13th Amendment is the amendment that federally abolishes, makes illegal slavery and indentured servitude. Those of you that, paid attention in government class in high school, I didn't, so I didn't know this, but in order to make something into law, it has to be approved by Congress, then Senate. And at the time of 1865, it also has to be, ratified by all the states in order to be applied federally as a law. So the significance of this is that in January, it made it pass to Congress. Now it still has to get ratified before it becomes a federal law. But this is still a big first part of American history that we want to acknowledge. So boom, 13th Amendment passes in Congress. But mind you, this is 1865, right? 13th Amendment is widely considered the thing that freed the slaves. But let's rewind 2 years ago. This is what more people, more Americans consider the thing that freed the slaves, the Emancipation Proclamation, Abraham Lincoln's thing. So, but this comes with a catch. So the catch being this only freed the slaves on paper, specifically by changing the legal status of slaves from enslaved to free. And this only applied to the Confederate slaves, so the slaves in Confederate states. And this also only went so far as the Union could enforce it. Because of course, at this time, if you remember, the Civil War is going on, because that's what, Abraham Lincoln was famous for, bringing, the United States back together. So Civil War is going on. The Union and Confederacy are at war. And of course, slavery is still happening, largely in those Confederate states. So when Emancipation Proclamation drops and Abraham Lincoln says that all enslaved people in the Confederate states are now legally free, do we think that the Confederate slaves or the Confederate slave owners would naturally abide? I think no was the obvious answer. So it had to be enforced by the Union Army when they got to those places as they progressed through the Civil War. And where specifically that applied is in this map. So the red little states, these are the counties, a county map. Red states, of course, are the Confederate states, and the white areas are Union states or Union territories. Now you'll notice that there's some counties that are painted in blue, and those are the border states. These blue areas are where they are slave owning, but these territories were loyal to the Union. And so these were excluded from the Emancipation Proclamation. So if you were a slave in these blue areas, the Emancipation Proclamation did not apply to you. You were still a slave. You were not freed by Abraham Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation. And so, even if you were legally freed, that does not mean that slavery is now illegal, because 13th Amendment hasn't happened yet. This is in 1863, 2 years prior to the 13th Amendment is when the Emancipation Proclamation happened. So it's basically just, again, on paper, slavery is still allowed, it's still done, but in the midst of the Civil War, Abraham Lincoln says, if you're a slave in the red states, you're not a slave anymore. And I think a lot of us kind of can imagine how realistically that played out. So fast forwarding back to 1865 again, now we have the 13th Amendment passed in Congress, still not federally law. In March 3rd, we had the Freedmen's Bureau that was established, which helped to transition those freed slaves into normal life, how to stop from, how to know how to live a, well, yeah, to know how to live a free life when all you've known is slavery. And then a month after that, the Confederacy officially surrenders, marking the end of the Civil War. Now, this is again, if you're a slave, really great news. But in 1863, news travels really slow. So again, just because the war ended doesn't mean that the Confederate soldiers were disgruntled, doesn't mean that they just rolled over, doesn't mean that they immediately forfeited all of their properties, and which included their slaves. So news travels slow, which meant June 19th, 1865, this is 2 months after the Civil War formally ended, we get all the way down to the westernmost territory of the Confederate stronghold in Galveston, Texas, which is where we have this star marked here. In Galveston, Texas, on June 19th, the Union Major General Granger delivers General Order Number 3 and announces it to the townspeople of Galveston, saying, the people are informed that, in accordance with the proclamation from the executive of the United States, the President Abraham Lincoln, all slaves are free. And this official announcement was telling everyone of Galveston, the last slaves at the time in the Confederate areas, that all the slaves are now formally freed. So this is why June 19th is celebrated, because it's not just when it started, but when the last known slaves were notified in the Confederate territories. So what did that look like when they celebrated? These are the first Emancipation Days, because that's what they called it, Emancipation Day. They called it Jubilee Day. It wasn't called Juneteenth yet. But here's how it looked when they celebrated. And so we have pictures of the first freed people getting in their Sunday best, their finest clothes, to have parties outside. And the picture on the right is not a picture, but an artistic rendition. This is the first Emancipation Day celebrated in Washington, D.C. This is the 1880s, I believe, which is when this was made. So all these freedmen and women and their children are having barbecues, playing games, there's bands, there's parades. That's how that looked. And fast forwarding a couple more decades, we see photography is now becoming a thing. And so we have realistic pictures of this, again, we have bands playing music, we have parades, they had floats. Everyone's eating, barbecue food. We have kids in the bottom left eating watermelon, and these older folks that, just really, especially for a slave in this time, this is really fine clothing. They looked like really distinguished people, which is when you finally come out of a place of indignity and you can't possibly pass up a chance to, don yourself into the life that you feel like you were owed. So it's really beautiful to see all these pictures. And again, this is a tradition of remembrance. So on the right, we have people dressed as Union soldiers, or sorry, on the left, excuse me, dressed as Union soldiers that came to deliver the news of their emancipation. And so traditionally, back in the day, they would read the General Order Number 3, which notified them of their formal freedom. They would read the Emancipation Proclamation. That's also how they celebrated, as well as having guest speakers and things like that. And that tradition continues here, because on the right, this is a much newer picture. And to this day, they still reenact the Union soldiers coming to Galveston. This is a picture from 2018. Coming to deliver the news of General Order Number 3, that those final slaves were freed. And now, again, speaking of the tradition of remembrance, I don't know if there's anyone in the chat or watching that's familiar with the Outer Banks area outside of North Carolina. I'm just going to zoom in because Outer Banks is this strip of islands off the coast of North Carolina. We zoom in towards the bottom of that. We see something called Shackelford Banks down here in this sort of check mark shaped strip of land. Here's Shackelford Banks right there. And why I'm highlighting this is because it's a piece of historical land, right? Shackelford Banks was owned by the Shackelford family of North Carolina. And if we zoom in, I found this is a very old, obviously out of scale map from I think 1712 or 1713, where it highlights, I overlaid it and rotate it so it kind of lines up with where this land is. And so where it says this is Shackelford Banks here, this is where the Shackelford estate was, where the Shackelford plantation was. And this is obviously a more current map, excuse me. This is where the Shackelford estates geographically was. Now, why do I bring that up? Because Winsor Wade was a slave on the Shackelford estates. He is, as you can tell by the big pointing finger, my 6th great grandfather. That means my great, 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 great grandfather, born in 1750. And here I was able to go through Ancestry and find a bunch of documents marking some, let's say, notable parts of his life. Now, mind you, this is 1765. Windsor is 15 years old. And 1765 is 100 years before the Emancipation Proclamation, before the first Juneteenth, So 2 years before that Emancipation Proclamation. But here, age 15, we see the first formal mention, official mention in any document, government documentation of Windsor's existence. And he's owned at the time by a man named Ananias Kavanaugh at age 15. And Ananias Kavanaugh is on his deathbed, and his wife, Mary Kavanaugh, he is her third husband. And on Ananias's deathbed, he's writing his last will and testament, and to accompany that, his inventory of his entire estate. And then in the first line of his inventory, he goes, a true inventory of the estate of Ananias Kavanaugh Descartes, one Negro fellow called Windsor. And then at the bottom, you see Mary Kavanaugh's signature, her mark of acknowledgement that he is transferring his goods and things to his wife in his death. Windsor, my 6th great grandfather, is 15 when this is happening. Now let's fast forward 3 years. Now Mary Kavanaugh is on her deathbed. And in her last will and testament, in her last will and testament, she says, I give and bequeath unto my 2 best sons, because this is, mind you, Mary was married to Ananias as her third husband. She's got a bunch of kids from 2 previous marriages. So her 2 oldest sons, she gives and bequeaths to Abraham and Jacob Wade, one Negro man named Windsor, jointly between them, to be divvied or disposed of as they shall think proper to them, their heirs and assigns forever. So Windsor, the 6th great grandfather, is 18 years old when this happens. He's been transferred ownership twice now. And fast forward, he's not mentioned again in any official documentation until he's 50 years old, the year's 1800. And this is when we see some of the oldest first censuses of the United States, where we have record of Windsor and his family, which is 5 slaves total, living under the ownership of Abraham and his wife. Abraham is the son of Mary, the wife of Ananias, to kind of tie it all back together. And we know that this is Windsor because they don't mention Windsor by name, but in the year 1800, they mention the slaves by their rough age. So we have one older gentleman, about 50. We have one older woman about in her 40s, and then one male in their teens, adult, and then 2 teenage girls, all Black, never mentioned by name, just color and age. And then by name in that same row, Abraham Wade and his white wife. Don't know what her name was because ironically she also wasn't mentioned in the will, or in the census. But anyways, 1800, he goes almost 40 years essentially not existing on documented paper. Until one more year later, 1801, the 23rd of April, um, Abraham Wade, his final owner, this is not his last will and testament. He's not on his deathbed, but on this day, he writes, by the law of nature and of God, all are equally entitled. I do therefore emancipate, liberate, and discharge the said Windsor and invest him with all the liberties of a man free. So essentially freed Windsor from his lifetime of slavery when he is 51 years old. And then on top of that, gave him 50 acres of land on the Shackelford estate, which in 1800 cost $200. Now, if we were to bring that to 2026 terms, that's about, depending on what source you ask $40,000 up to $190,000 because money versus land has different conversions rate. But that's still for a Black man pre-Civil War, pre-emancipation, first Juneteenth. This is significant because it's not just Windsor. His last owner frees him, his wife, and his 3 children from slavery. So love that for my family, to put it lightly. And again, this is not just American history, not government history, but this is the history of my family. You'll see that's me at the bottom, my father, his father, and then we have 5 generations of mothers through which I was able to track this. Because one thing that you need to learn if you ever decide to go into ancestry research, the mothers are always documented with the children. And that's why it's easier, at least for honestly, Black people that aren't typically documented in government documentation, that is the easiest way to find family. If you know who the mother is documented with those children because oftentimes the husband was off going to work, sending money back to the family or something. But shout out to these 5 generations of grandmothers and great grandmothers through which I was able to finally find our oldest ancestor, Windsor Wade. So pretty cool stuff. And so, how do we celebrate Juneteenth now? How do we celebrate the emancipation of our people? And this is what it looks like. It's pretty much the same through music, guest speakers, pageantry, parades, things like that, food, of course. And so you'll notice we see the Pan-African flag, which is kind of consistent. We see dashikis, we see the same colors, color schemes. And here, this is actually the official flag of Juneteenth. So the star in the middle, call back to Texas, the Lone Star State. This jagged line is shaped like a star, a supernova symbolizing, a new beginning. And then here we have the exact date, July. It's covered through the wind in this picture, but it says June 19, 1865. So you never forget that the date of Juneteenth. So, yeah, this is how it looks. And of course, what's the most important part of the celebration is food. And how that actually looks is we see a lot of red foods, which the color red from West African heritage, West African culture, is a symbol of power. Of course, in the Pan-African flag, the red symbolizes the blood of sacrifice, the sacrifice of liberation specifically. So we see a lot of red drinks, red cakes, red velvet cakes specifically, and then we see prosperity foods. So black-eyed peas, cornbread, yams, these are crops that were brought over to America through the transatlantic slave trade. And these crops were specifically given because they last long over that long journey. These were the provisions that both the crew and the slaves were given to survive that trip. And then many of those slaves would hide the seeds of some of these crops into their braids to survive that travel. And then lastly, barbecue foods, because meat, you got to have meat, you got to have something sustaining. But also in slavery times, barbecue is still a very labor intensive food to prepare. And to be frank, the white slave masters were not going to be doing that work. And so they had the slaves dig the trenches because that's how you had to do barbecue. You have to dig a deep hole in the ground, burn wood to get the charcoals going, get large branches of wood to create a grill, and then smoke that meat over that for hours and hours, tending to it. And so it's very labor intensive work, which is why the slaves were usually the ones made to do it. And that has become wedded with blackness, and barbecue is the tradition. Because when it came to the first Emancipation Days, Black people celebrated as if it were 4th of July because it's their Independence Day. And so they were doing the foods that they knew best how to make and making it their own. And so this is why we see these sort of foods, watermelon and strawberries, red fruits, summer fruits, typically, which is another reason why we see that predominantly in soul foods, but specifically Juneteenth. And here again, we see soul food. This is more a picture history. I'm not going to belabor the point about the history of barbecue, but we learn it from the Native Americans. The Native Americans, the Black Seminoles of Florida, taught
Listen, come here.
yes.
Come here.
Hello? We have a question? Maybe not. I'll keep going. So we have the Black Seminoles of Florida that basically how the earliest documented history of barbecue, and the Black Seminoles of Florida taught the local slaves. When the white slave masters found out about the local cuisine, the Native American cuisine, they wanted to host their own parties, but they're not the ones preparing the food naturally. So the slaves had to then learn this tradition of Native American barbecue, Native American cuisines, tie that into their own West African influence and culture. And this is how this melting pot of cultures and cuisines become American soul food as we know it now. And so here, this is what the Native Americans depiction. Here's a picture of a Black Seminole hut in Florida. And you see the skin is very dark. When I say black, like this is like a black man, but with Native American roots. And then, of course, this is what barbecue looked like in the southern states in the 1800s. So again, very tireless work. That's where the love comes from. And those of you that drink, I'm not sure if we have any drinkers in the crowd, but I was hosting a barbecue. I have a few friends that do drink. So I added this in here as a bonus. I don't know if you recognize, either anyone recognizes these two people in the middle. Certainly probably not the one on the left, but this is a very famous individual in American culture, but American drinking culture specifically. The man on the right, this is Jack Daniels of Jack Daniels Tennessee Whiskey. Now, the reason why I have an arrow pointed at the man next to him, this is Nestor Nearest. Nestor Nearest's father was who Jack Daniels called Uncle Nearest. Uncle Nearest, from his African heritage, taught Jack Daniels how to filter alcohol, how to filter fluids, and essentially taught Jack Daniels how to make whiskey. So for many years, there was no mention of Uncle Nearest in the history, but of course, when it came out, if you can Google Jack Daniels / or comma Uncle Nearest, and they have mention of it on the official site, giving proper recognition to Uncle Nearest for teaching Jack Daniels how to make the to this day, very famous whiskey. And so another form of drink we see, I mentioned red drinks is very popular. And again, the reason for this is very deliberate, right? Hibiscus tea is traditional in West African cuisine. West African cuisine as well. But more specific to the 1800s in America, we saw circus soda in the first Emancipation Days. Circus soda is soda water mixed with molasses. Now, molasses itself isn't red. It's a very dark brown, tar-like syrup. When you mix it with soda water, it dilutes that brown into a burnt red color. And soda water was used to be reserved only for the white people. So when it came to Emancipation Days and they wanted to make their own red soda, circus soda, we see this in Juneteenth all over the place. And then, of course, those with Caribbean heritage, so Haitian people coming in, was it I believe it's called the Columbian Exchange or the Columbian Interchange, in those southern states that had trade or exchange slaves from those areas as well. We bring Jamaica tea, or like their Jamaica drinks, which is rum based, again, hibiscus tea based, but It's all very similar, very tied, because it's all that entire area was tied up in the transatlantic slave trade. And then, of course, we see Kool-Aid, which is a more current reproduction of a red sort of drink that is obviously even now popular in the Black community. But Big Red also, I didn't know Big Red, but this is apparently in Texas, very popular because Big Red is a red colored soda that was created in Austin, I believe. And so we see in Texas specifically, all over in Texas, Big Red is a popular Juneteenth drink. And so with that, talking about food, talking about drink, talking about all the celebration, I closed out the barbecue with a toast with whatever anyone was drinking, to history, a toast to heritage, to fellowship, to freedom, and a happy Juneteenth. And this concludes my presentation. If I can figure out how to stop sharing the screen. Here we go. So I will take any questions if there are any, but if not, I am going to pass it back to my grandmother.
Okay, praise the Lord. Everybody listening, I hope you enjoyed this presentation. Kiyomi, I loved it. I loved it. Very nicely presented. And I'm wondering if anyone has any comments, or would you, those that are on Zoom, if you want to say something to Kiyomi. I hope it was a learning time for you. It was for me when I first heard it. So is there anyone that has any comments or anything that they would like to say?
And Bobby,
Yes,
this is
Mr. Wu.
Nancy.
Nancy, Sister Nancy, all right.
But I gotta go. But
Oh.
Kiyomi, you did great. I got another call coming in. All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Sister
He'll
Ruth,
let you
like
know
to say
later, I'm sure.
yeah, I want to say something, Mother. I'm a Jamaican, and I never knew anything about Juneteenth until I came here. So it's a learning experience for me.
Yes, I never did either, just to respect it. And as I learned, of course, I'm not really included in it, but I thought it was interesting because, I mean, my children are Black, my husband was Black, so I should know. And that's why I asked her to come on. And whatever you do, however you may celebrate it, that it is very nice. It's something more we can learn. And Kilme did this in her spare time. This is just, I thought it was a very interesting presentation. Thank you so much. You know, any other
Mr. Powell?
comments? Yes,
Praise the Lord, Sister Powell, it's Sister Trim.
yes, son.
Yes, I want to say to calling me. Sorry, I hope I didn't pronounce your name wrong.
Kiyomi,
Yes,
we
I
can
am so
just call her
happy.
Key. Key,
Key.
if you want.
Hi, Key. This is Sister Gemma. Key, I'm so happy to hear your voice and to see so much information, because it's a
Yes,
lot of things we don't know. This is so
yes.
much information. And I thank God for you, because I watched how you went through the history and how we can go through our family history. And
Mm.
one thing, I really have no question, but one thing I really want to say to you, Key, is that if your late grandfather could hear you today,
I
he will be
know,
so proud.
proud,
He will be so
yes,
proud of you. Oh, what amazing day. What amazing day this would be
yes.
for him. And I thank you. I enjoy every moment of it. Very informative. Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
Jen.
And I
Thank you
hope this
so
is not the
much.
last we hearing from her again. I hope this is not the last we're going to hear
Oh,
from you.
no.
All right, good. All right. You take care.
Yes,
God bless.
thank you, Gemma.
Mhm. Yes,
Very nice.
very
Jimmy,
nice.
are you on? Yeah, I heard you. Where?
Yeah, she's on.
Yes,
Okay.
I'm on.
I just didn't see your picture anymore. Okay, that's fine. I just, when I asked for a bio, I can't even say some of the words in here. Navy lieutenant,
That's my bad.
helicopter.
Sorry.
No, I'm just so proud. Helicopter pilot, graduate of Naval Academy, uh,
Amazing.
Yes? Someone
I
want to
say,
say?
no, I was saying it's amazing, Sister Drama,
Oh,
amazing,
yes.
amazing.
Midshipman Honor Program. She's a case officer. And also, what about the choir, Kiyomi?
Yes. So I also do the
That was
choir.
interesting.
I also do the choir, but because it's the summer and all the midshipmen are away on their summer training, I haven't been doing that in these
Yes.
past few months. But during the academic year, when it is active, I am also the office representative for the Academy's gospel choir.
Yes.
Wonderful, wonderful.
And they are good. They visit churches and they sing at churches, you know, in the mainly the South area, right?
We go around in the local area of Maryland. We've been to Virginia a couple times. This past Black History Month, we did a concert at the Naval Academy, but the Black History Month before that, we had done a trip to New York and we went to a bunch of schools in Brooklyn, Queens, like all over the
Beautiful.
place, just doing just community outreach.
That's beautiful. Now, Kiyomi, can you explain to me what chases rabbit holes means?
Yes, ma'am. So, rabbit hole, it's a metaphor. So, it's a reference to Alice in Wonderland. So, the
Yes.
rabbit hole is like this big hole that's a mystery to people. And the deeper you go into the rabbit hole, the more lost you tend to get. So, when I say I like chasing rabbit holes, I mean to say that I get curious about something and like my
Yes.
curiosity gets the best of myself and I find myself getting lost in these deep research holes or deep curiosity holes because I just can't resist the mystery. So
All right. Does
Wonderful. You did great.
anyone else have anything that they would like to ask, Kiyomi?
Well,
Or mention?
Sister Ruth, I was thinking of, I heard people talking about the watermelon thing. Now I understand why.
yes, there's so many
Yeah.
things as I did the research for this presentation. Obviously, I've, grown up in Black culture my whole life, but you don't know why we do some of the things that we do or why we eat the things that we do, why we sing the songs that we sing, where our parts of our culture come from. And so
Yeah.
this was super illuminating for me to kind of understand the history of our own culture in just Black America. So it was really cool.
Yes, yes.
I'm wondering, I see our pastor is on here, our new pastor, Sister Kim. Um, do you have anything that you would like to say to Kiyomi, Pastor?
Praise the Lord. Good evening
Praise the
to
Lord.
everyone. Key, thank you so much um, for your presentation. I think it's very important as young women like yourself to even take the time to do the research.
Yes.
When I remember when they passed Juneteenth as a holiday, a lot of African Americans did not know anything about it. And I was so glad that you brought up the point about the Emancipation Proclamation because every January 1st, that is like a big thing where the African American communities will celebrate that and have the service. And we don't know much about Juneteenth. So I'm glad to hear when Lady B, your grandmother, who is doing a phenomenal job, um, when she said that she was having you on and for you to come in and share about Juneteenth. I thought it was phenomenal because even as a church, we need to understand certain things. The Bible always tells us that we are destroyed for lack of knowledge, and he wasn't just referring to Bible knowledge, but just a knowledge of who we are as a
Yes.
people and a culture. And although she is of the lighter persuasion,
Right.
it's good for us all to know so that we're not intimidated by each other. Have we have a clearer understanding um, of each other's culture and what is important, and so that we don't become offensive. So I thank you. I remember even using the word picnic. There's a meaning behind that word picnic.
Mm.
In our culture, we don't. People use it, but people don't understand what that really means. And
You're gonna get Kiyomi going on picnic now.
well, she loves rabbit holes, so that's
I
good.
know.
That's good. I
Yes,
don't know. I don't know if she
I
if
don't
she
know
knows,
what it
but
is either.
we will but that's a different conversation. But
Yes,
again, I
yes,
just want to thank you so much, and
yes.
I hope I'm just going to put this out there, Key. I would love for you to whether it's virtual or however, I would love for you to be able to do the same presentation to the young people at Gospel Lighthouse.
Oh,
um
absolutely. Absolutely. I'd love to do that.
yeah, we would love.
It's
And
nice, yes.
As Sister Gemma said, I know that your grandfather would be so
Yes.
very godly proud of you and in this presentation. But yeah, we're going to be inviting you to come and speak, like I said, whether it's virtually, to speak to the young people, because if we don't know where we're coming from, we're definitely not going to know where we're going.
Yes.
And this is really good. This was a very good segment on tonight. So God bless you. Thank you, Lady B, for the opportunity.
Yes, thank God. I just want to mention Diane Prescott. It's her birthday, her daughter's birthday on June 19th. Mhm. Who? Who's Joe Eva? Oh, Joe Eva? I don't know Joe Eva that I know of. I do, okay. We thank God for this presentation tonight on Lady B. Brother James Booker, I hope you're still on. It was good to talk with you tonight. And thank you, Pastor, for those comments. And Sister Gemma, thank you so much. Deborah Carter, I'm so glad to see your name on tonight. I have to give you a call. And Eddie Johnson, my favorite, my faithful watcher on here. We just thank God for anybody else that's on here. I can't see everybody that has commented, but if you want to see it again, you can let people know that we had this presentation and that you're welcome to join in and watch it again. Kiyomi, I love you, and I appreciate you coming on so readily, to do this. And I'm glad that the offer was put out to you, and hopefully you'll be able to possibly come with us and go to Gospel Lighthouse and show this. Or any other churches. Let me spread it out a little bit. It's a wonderful
And Bobby,
presentation.
and
Yes,
Bobby, this is
Nancy, yes.
Nancy. I'm back. This
Okay,
needs to be shared with our family because she
yes,
went back in genealogy several
yes,
generations that many of
yes,
us don't know. So I learned a
uh-huh,
lot tonight,
yes.
and I appreciate that. So I think Jeff need to set up a larger Zoom for those of the family to hear about this.
Can we do it on
Because
our family thing?
uh, yeah,
Yeah,
you should be able to.
That,
yeah.
oh, I don't know that much about the technology of it, but that's a good idea too. Kiyomi, are you sitting up still or what?
Yes, I'm paying attention. I'm paying attention.
Are
I'm
you
happy to
in?
do whatever. Just give
Okay,
me a time and date so I can make sure that I'm ready for everybody.
you
Oh
know,
yeah,
that is wonderful, Nancy. Good suggestion. And I'm wondering, how do you do this extra rabbit hole findings when you're working on your master in data analytics and cybersecurity governance? I
Yes, I'm sorry for the mouthful, Grandma. I'm sorry.
oh yes.
So,
Wow.
um,
You
well,
must take that from your grandmother, the smartness, I guess.
I'm sure I do. I'm sure I do.
no, it's
Um,
the power side. It's the power side.
it
Okay,
could be
all
both.
right,
It could
I'll
be
take
both.
that.
But how I find time, well, for one, I genuinely love to do this. I have an insatiable hunger. I used to say that my hobby for making power. Oh, I realized my camera's not on, my fault. Um I love to do research, but
Yes,
on my
uh-huh.
own terms. I used to get ignorance guilt.
Yes,
My bad. I turned my camera on and I wasn't muted. So, this I managed to do this. It wasn't difficult, because I find time because I genuinely love to do this. This is something that I know that this is sort of a nerdy thing. People don't really like to make PowerPoints for fun. But when the topic is interesting to you, it feels really like a hunger for me that I
Yeah,
have to
that's
feed.
good.
yes,
And
yes.
this hobby of making PowerPoints started with ignorance guilt. I would feel guilty about not knowing enough about, current events, or I don't know, something that I heard my friends talking about, or a conspiracy theory I heard. And so I don't know enough about it. So let me do some research. And because I'm a visual person, I don't want to write a paper about it. I'm going to make a PowerPoint. So I'll have pictures and visuals, and I'll have links for me to go back and see where I got my claims and findings from. And I have a personal catalog. I only share this with my family sometimes, my very closest friends. Not that it's private, but because I don't, it's genuinely just for myself, my own pleasure. So, um, it makes me feel very good to hear that you guys took something valuable away from this, or that you found
Yes.
it remotely as interesting as I did. So if there's anything that you guys would like me to explore deeper, I'm open to suggestions of where my next rabbit hole should be. And if you want me to present it again, by all means, I'm happy to say it again, because I love talking about the things that I've learned and sharing them with people. So balancing it with my work, thank goodness, is slow enough for me to accommodate my master's schoolwork. So I do my schoolwork on the job, and then whatever free time I happen to have, I uh, do some research that I'm particularly interested in. So this Juneteenth presentation took me about maybe a week of Googling between, lunch breaks and just whenever I have downtime, and then making it look pretty for you all to see. So
Oh, such a wonderful presentation. That's all I can say. I just loved it, and I hope you all did. And pass on the information as you heard Kiyomi offered. If you have something, another topic that you would love her to look into, uh, then we'll pass it on to her. I just want to tell you, thank you so much, Kiyomi. And if there is nothing else from anyone, I just, is someone, yes, anyone? Gemma? Anybody else? Okay.
Sister Powell, could you hear me?
Yes,
I'm looking at you all on on my television. I don't know what I did because I'm not good with technology, but I can look at you all on the television. I'm seeing you all on my
that's
television.
nice. I
Yeah,
do
isn't that
that with
nice?
I do that with Sisters of the Hood. But I
Yeah, on
go on,
YouTube.
yeah, I have
Wonderful.
YouTube on my big television, so I don't know
Yeah.
really the technical things of what we're doing,
I
but
don't know either. I don't know what I
well,
did.
keep it, whatever you did.
Yeah, that's
Just,
wonderful.
just
Yes,
going to
but
Thank you
YouTube.
again, Key. Thank you so much, Key.
Yeah, this is Brother Nate. Yeah, I enjoyed the presentation as well, even though I got on late. And Kiyomi, I
Oh.
always appreciated your level of curiosity.
yes,
Um, we could talk to you more about it, and I don't want to throw shade over anything, but I think it's particularly um, important because as a biracial female, you could have opted to disregard the importance of Juneteenth. I'm, although I'm a science educator, I'm very much interested in cultural things such as biracial, interracial issues and topics. So I've known about Juneteenth, but not when it first came out. So I did appreciate, but there were some things that you mentioned that I did not know. So I appreciate knowledge as well. Great presentation,
yes,
and
yes, thank you.
good to see you virtually.
Thank you
Yes,
so much.
yes. All right, well, I can close out now if everyone has had their say. I'll just wait a couple seconds more. Kiyomi, do you want to say anything else?
No, ma'am, thank you. I just thank you for the opportunity. Thank you to everyone for the kind comments. They're very encouraging. And
right.
I'd be happy to entertain you all again with another learning moment, hopefully in the future.
Good, good. I want to tell you something, Kiyomi. I've always said to my Sunday school class, I have the adult class, and especially when I was there, and it hasn't been recently, but I tell them, whatever knowledge you can get it. See a word you don't know, find out what it means. Add things to your brain. Okay.
I could not agree more.
All right, honey. And possibly you got your love of rabbit holes from your grandmother also, because I love to look up things. All right. I'm going to decrease. All right, if there's nothing else, thank you all for your comments. It was great to talk with everybody. And this is Lady B signing out for this week or this month. All right, no, I was right, this week. Thank you so much. All right, good night, everyone. Thank you, Kiyomi, again.
Good night.
God bless.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Pastor. Bye-bye.
Mhm. Mhm.